Hey everybody, it's Walid again. So today's video you are going to learn how to buy an SLR camera, a used one, and how to inspect it and check it. And once again, I went to Fullerton Camera where I bought my first camera. He answered all of your questions. So check out this video. If this video helps you out, give me a like, give me a comment. I read all the comments myself. Let's start the video. And here is Fullerton Cameras, how to buy a used camera, SLR.
Big resurgence in film lately. They're like 1% of where they were in the 1990s, but they've gone up, I think, 5 or 6% every year for the past 3 or 4 years now. So it's actually coming up quite a bit. Very trendy. A lot of people like them. Whole generation now that have never used film that grew up with digital, so they love these cameras now. So I grabbed a K1000 just at random. It's your typical student camera. Every book you pick up that talks about film cameras, if they're 35mm, that'll probably be mentioned with the photo in there. Oh, cool. It's like the camera. They all function essentially the same way. You're going to have a shutter speed dial, which is like the TV or something like that you would have on a digital camera. You're going to have your aperture ring, or your f-stop ring, which is going to be here on the lens. Same idea on a digital. It's usually the AV or the A mode. That's your aperture. Same thing. And that's really it. There's, like, a K1000 has no auto setting. It is manual all the time. Manually focus the camera, manually set everything. You can find models that do only auto focusing. You can find them that do only auto exposure. So you want to decide what you want. Do you want something that's just auto all the time, or do you want to really get into it and learn all the features of it? And then just look for a model that will allow you to do that.
And you think this Pentax is a great one? Oh
yeah.
What are a couple other ones that people would buy? A beginner film photographer.
So Pentax K1000, Canon AE1, AE1 program, Minolta X700, Minolta SRT 101, Olympus OM anything 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are all amazing film cameras. Okay. Nikon probably the biggest of the 4, and I forgot them. Nikon FM, FE, all sorts of them.
Okay, great. And then as far as used cameras, I imagine with digital, we try to keep it a little bit younger. With these, it just doesn't really matter, right?
It doesn't really matter. There are lots of film cameras that were autofocus cameras that you could put a zoom lens on. They are nearly as popular as the older. Everybody loves the 80s, the 70s, the 60s. That's what everybody loves. The old metal cameras that are all manual. That's what people like. They like being able to take the lenses off, put other lenses on. So that's very, very popular. I'll mention something on that. If you are looking for these, and this will apply to digital too, if you're looking at used ones and you can take the lenses off, always a good idea to open them up and looking at a lens. Get your flashlight, take a flashlight with you, and shine it through it and just take a glance in there. What you're looking for is to see if you see any like spider web or any haze, anything like that. That's a lot of dust in that one. I haven't cleaned it yet. But it's a good way to tell. If you see a bunch of haze, if you see things that look like spider webs inside, that's fungus and not a good idea. So try to avoid something like that. You'll be more likely to find it in film than in digital lenses just because they're newer, but you can find it in both.
So, but one of the perks of buying it at a store like yourselves, that you guys have brand new and of course used stuff, is that you've done a lot of these checks for them.
Exactly. Going to a store, you'll probably pay a premium for it as opposed to Craigslist or eBay or something of that nature. But keep in mind that in general, the lens should have been in the body. They've probably been checked over. Everything's been verified that it works. And most of the time, you're probably getting a warranty of some sort with it as well. So that's usually worth some extra money.
What are the first 2 lenses that someone should buy?
So for film cameras, most common a 50mm lens. That was pretty much the lens that came with all of them back in the day. So that's probably what you'll find. It'll say 50mm here, and then it'll have your f-stop. Ignore that first little one. So this is an f2. You'll see one that'll say a 1.8, a 1.4, things like that. That's what you're looking for. Any of those would be very good. The next most popular one would be either a wide angle, like a 28mm, or a telephoto lens, which would either be a 135 millimeter lens or a zoom lens, like an 80 to 200, something like that.
Okay, so then true or false here, is it easier to purchase a used lens online versus a body? Or equally, you gotta be careful?
The problem with buying a lens online is
Yeah.
that, you know, usually someone, even if they don't know anything about cameras, if they push the button and it makes a noise, okay, you've got half a shot that it's working. A lens, there's not really anything you can do unless you really know how to look at it.
Sure.
Yeah. Best thing to do is to have someone look at it, because the last thing you want to do is do it wrong without any research, and if that shutter closes while you're trying to do it, you killed your shutter, which is a very expensive repair.
And what is that as opposed to just getting it cleaned professionally with you guys?
We'll do the shutters. We also will go through, clean up the front and back of the lens, make sure there's no problems, no scratches, finger marks, you know, things like that.
Yeah.
We'll clean inside and make sure the mirror's okay. See, this one I've got a thumbprint in there, so I got to clean that one. So we'll go through and make sure they look okay.
Okay.
Get
and
rid of all
what's
that
an
for you.
average cost for a good camera cleaning?
$35 or $45, somewhere in that ballpark, is an average cost for a basic cleaning.
But that's worth your peace of mind instead
think
of
so.
destroying your shutter, right?
Yeah, and not everyone can do it. I'm actually absolutely terrible at cleaning
Okay,
shutters, so
so am I.
I never did my own. I would always have someone else do it for me. So,
What about light meters? Especially on the SLRs. What's a great way to see if that's still functioning?
digital is pretty simple. I mean, the light meter basically works. If the camera's still functioning, the light meter's probably functioning as well, because it's
Okay.
electronically controlled anyways.
Yeah.
Film, it's a little bit more iffy. Like a K1000 doesn't require a battery to work the camera. The only thing a battery does is operate the light meter. So the easiest way to check a light meter would just be to use the Sunny 16 rule. So it means put your lens on f16, and then whatever your film speed is, or ISO now they call it, and your shutter speed should be the same. So you can just put your film speed to 125, set your shutter speed to 125, go outside in the sun and point it at, you know, just taking normal pictures. Don't point it straight to the sky, but, you know, just normal pictures. I double check, it should be pretty close to that. That's not
Okay.
exactly scientific, but it'll give you an idea if your meter's accurate. If you're making all these changes and the meter does nothing and never moves, then it either needs a battery or it's dead.
So obviously you spoke a lot about film getting a resurgence. If someone wanted to start shooting film, what can they expect as far as cost? Film development, what would it be?
So to buy film, you're looking at $5 to $15 generally. There's a lot of different types, but somewhere
Yeah.
in that ballpark. For developing, you're looking at anywhere from develop only, probably the same sort of $4 or $5 up to about $10. If you want
Scan.
pictures or scans, you're probably closer to $20 or $30 a roll, something like that.
Would you recommend one or two brands that a good beginner hobbyist can get? As
For
far as
film,
yeah.
color film, probably Kodak and Fuji are still the most well-known. Black and white, Kodak, Fuji, Ilford is my favorite, so Ilford would be the other one to look at for black and white.
Great. What about 120 film in just medium format?
So medium format, I have one. So medium format is going to be the larger film. So whereas this takes a little 35 millimeter negative, this takes a 6x6 centimeter or 2 1/4 square negative. Much bigger negative, much more resolving power, so it's just a nicer image, really. You can blow it up larger if you want to, really.
You can blow these up massively. Like what?
Oh
what's
yeah,
a giant
medium format can go really big. Easily 16 by 20 or more than that, probably. Most of your medium format cameras don't have light meters. Not all of them, but most of them don't have it. So one thing to keep in mind is you may end up needing a handheld meter, or, you know, there's all those apps on your phone, so you can probably buy one that'll work as well.
Do you think that the phone apps do you think they're pretty reliable?
They seem to be pretty reasonable.
Get you
know,
the
I think-
neighborhood at least?
Yeah, exactly. We didn't talk about slide film, but when you're using slide film, it's not as common anymore, but it does still exist. Slides, you have to be very exact. So your phone may not be the most accurate thing for slide, but for everything else, yeah, it's probably okay.
How long do you think somebody should be shooting on 35 before they jump to medium? Do you think there should be a pause there, or they can just go back and forth at any point?
You can go back and forth at any point, really. I mean, the film is different, the loading is a little different, but the functions are the same. I mean, you still have to focus it, you still have to do a shutter speed, you still have to do an f-stop or an aperture. So
Okay.
it's not really much different. You just have to learn how to use it. Just take a little time with it.
Now, as far as aftermarket lenses, what do you think of Tamron and Sigma and what they're doing lately, and then as opposed to their earlier lenses?
Tamron and Sigma are probably the two biggest. Tamron's been pretty steady forever, really, and they still continue to be one of the best for the aftermarkets. Sigma is a company that in years past they were only interested in having a cheap consumer lens that was a very low cost, and they weren't really concerned that much with high quality. Now when you get into Sigma's art line, I mean, they're phenomenal lenses, really good, and still have great price points compared to the equivalent Nikon or Canon top of the line glass, and in most cases every bit as good as it.
I agree.
There, you can adapt stuff onto the mirrorless and onto like Canons. Nikon, you can't really adapt stuff to very well. Manual lenses are always pretty easy to get an adapter for, especially on a mirrorless. Autofocus electronic lenses are much harder to do. I would do research first and figure out what adapter and what lens you're thinking about, and do some research and see what people have had as far as results doing that.
What's a fair price?
$15 to $30, something like that.
Okay. You got a lot of beautiful cameras behind you.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any, what are some of your favorite ones and why?
Well, my love has always been for Leica, so you have the Leicas here.
Right.
Essentially invented the 35mm camera, so those are very collectible, very popular even to use. Sky's the limit on price, and they can go much higher than that, but great cameras. The Rolleicord that I showed earlier, also Rolleiflex, same company, just higher end. Phenomenal German cameras, I love those as well. My main camera that I shoot is actually a Rolleiflex.
What about the brownies, the Hawkeye and stuff? Do you think that a camera that costs right under 20 bucks, is that a great beginner camera?
Not a great beginner camera. Some people do still use them. They're fun to play around with.
Yeah.
They really don't have any sort of control. Some of them don't even use the same types of film anymore, so you can't even get a current film to fit in them. I would say at this point more of a novelty. If you just want to have fun to do it, fine, but you're probably not going to be shooting for a year with a brownie.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Okay, well there you go. I hope you guys learned a lot how to buy an SLR camera. Thank you, Chris from Fullerton Cameras. Thank you, Mike from Fullerton Cameras. Thank you for taking all of our questions and answering them for us. If you guys need a used camera, if you need a brand new camera, if you need camera gear, accessories of any sort, give Fullerton Cameras a call. You can go to fullertoncameras.com, and then all their information is right there. If you like this video, click like, please. If you want to share it with somebody, that'd be really incredible for the community. It helps me make more videos. And what else is left? Oh, if you want to leave a comment. I read every single comment. I answer every single comment. Thank you for watching. Click subscribe right here. And I'll see you guys on the next video.